Hey, shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker coming at you raw and uncensored. And as always, only God knows what's going to happen on this show. Welcome to Shout Out from the Pit, where the host sucks, but the guests are awesome. I'm the host, and Redbeard, the nerd in the basement, as he says, is my partner and producer. Our goal is to bring stories and topics designed to add to your toolbox as you trudge the road to happy destiny. Today's show is Couples in Recovery, and joining us today are Team Cheremy. That would be Cherie and Jeremy. Shout out and warm welcome to our guest. Yeah, Pat, you look really excited. Okay. You guys want to give a shout out? Hello.
Hey, everyone. I'm Cherie.
Hey, shout out, everybody. I'm Jeremy. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us again, Bob.
Thank you. By the way, Jeremy shared his story with us recently, and if you haven't heard it, please check out episode 30 on shoutoutfromthepit.com. Jeremy, as always, you've got a fantastic story, and just some of the things that you said on that show was, a catalyst or a push for us to want to have Cherie on here so we can get fact check you. I mean, to get her side of the story. So, and obviously, Cherie, we are really looking forward to capturing your story too in the near future. So, when this is over, we can capture a date with you. So that'd be awesome. Okay. So, we also have a studio audience here. We've got Pat and Pat and Sloan from the Tribe. You've heard them before. So, and if they chime in, they chime in. And we have a new person to the studio. Sam, just scream from where you're at. Just give a shout out.
Hello.
All right, you came through. That's awesome. All right, so all of you, as always, and especially Team Cheremy, thank you so much. And y'all are a miracle couple, especially after what I'm gonna announce here in a second. So it's just amazing that you guys have survived what you survived, and that you do so much, for our community and sobriety. That is just so awesome. All right, so before we get started, did you know alcohol use is a significant factor in divorce? Who'd have thought?
I believe that.
Right? A study found that rates of divorce were significantly higher among individuals with alcoholism compared to those without. 48% versus 30%. And the numbers are almost 100% when both partners are alcoholics. So for you two, both of you recovering alcoholics, to have made it through this, because I read so many studies that one drops off, the other follows, or the other one just, I can't do this anymore, and they pop smoke, they're out. But you guys have maintained a discipline in this program to the point where you're an example to each other and to so many people. So you are absolutely rare, and I couldn't find a single statistic on that survival rate. So if they're out there, I couldn't find them. All right. With that, Cherie, Jeremy, Bob's going to stop talking for the sake of all mankind. Give us a visual of who y'all are today before we talk about how you got there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Ladies first.
What I'm like today. I'm in school full time. Going back because of things that happened with his illness, I was able to go back to school and got to do something that with animals that I've never done before. So right now I'm a full-time student. And I am with my grandbabies as much as possible and touring the United States when we can, going on all the fun trips that we want to see.
So you have 3 and 1 on the way, or do you have 4 now?
We have 3 and 1 on the way.
That's right. I remember you saying that. That is so cool. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Did you ever think that you guys would be grandparents and live in the dream like that?
Absolutely not. Not good grandparents.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
No, I really didn't. And I honestly thought, and we had plenty of conversations, and we can absolutely go down this road later on. But, I had conversations with Cherie before, and I said, we will never know our grandchildren. There was points in time where I thought, if my daughter had children and my son had children, that we wouldn't be involved in their lives. And, the crazy thing is whenever you ask that question about who we are today, we are so far different from the people that we were when our drinking was going on. We were two individual people living in a house as two individuals. We weren't a couple. We weren't a team. And I think that's what separates so many alcoholics. That statistic that you talked about, I think whenever I think about why do we end in divorce with, the alcoholic, right? Because even if the other partner is not an alcoholic, you're just individuals living in a house. You're not living together. You're living separately, even though you may be cohabitating in the same.
Good point. Yeah. So what's your perspective on where y'all are at today, Jeremy?
I think that we're a team. I mean, and just like any team, I think, just like in the best example that I can give is whenever you think about a sports team, right? When we think about football, I'll just compare this to a football team because that's kind of the season that we've gotten into right now, right?
Sherry's over here flexing a muscle.
Is the players are not always going to get along individually, right? We're going to have moments whenever, I may let a play go through that maybe shouldn't have been, and I'm going to have a teammate that's going to get upset at me over something. But ultimately, in the end, we still have the same common goal is to stay together and be the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can and be that image in the world and be not an image, but be that couple in the world that we would like to, for other couples to be able to see and, lead by example and the way that our marriage is perceived. And, again, the big thing that I stress is that doesn't mean that there's not trials and tribulations because there always is. But what am I willing to do? And are we having a transactional relationship or are we having a relationship? And there's a big difference in that.
Well said. How long have you all been married?
I'm going to defer to Jeremy because he is the numbers guy on our marriage.
Oh, wow. That's usually the other way around.
The other way around.
Yeah, Pat.
I know. Well.
Okay, let me ask you this, Cherie. When's your anniversary?
March 22nd, 1997. I just learned that.
What date did you celebrate whenever I was in Iraq?
I think on the 21st. Yeah, when he was in Iraq, on our anniversary, and so I was like, I'm going to celebrate it, and I don't even know what I did. But his mom called me the next day and said, "Happy anniversary." I was like, "Oh, thanks, but it was yesterday." And she's like, "No, it's today." I'm like, "What?" I had to go get our wedding invitation and look and see. I was like, "Yeah, it was today," but I did get flowers. He had flowers sent to me that day.
Did you celebrate twice on that occasion?
Ooh.
I certainly would have. Yeah.
I did not. Okay. No.
So, Jeremy, you had flowers sent from Iraq?
I did. I had a friend of mine.
Check
I had
you out.
It. So Bob, we've talked about, me, you, and Pat sat around the night that we recorded the podcast that I was on. We talked about the days and all that stuff, and so I knew that on our anniversary, like I was not going to be in a position where I could make a phone call or anything like that.
Right.
So, about the 15th of March, I started making phone calls to people that I knew back in North Carolina. And I set it up to have somebody deliver her flowers on our anniversary. Yeah.
Man, dude, you rock. We got to take some notes. What happens on Valentine's Day, man? Hold on, let me get my pen out.
On Valentine's Day, absolutely nothing. We do not. He doesn't do anything for Valentine's Day.
I believe it's a holiday made up by the financial institutions and stores and yeah.
Hallmark.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm really bad with cards. My family will tell. I'm not bad with phone calls, and text. But when it goes, every time I go down and get a card for somebody and I look at that joker and it says $7 for a piece of paper with somebody else's thoughts on it, I get a little booty face. I'm like, I can come up with that. Right. Yeah. Roses are red, violets are blue. Can't wait to see you. You know who.
Right.
I just made that up. Roses are red. Okay. Whatever. All right. So let's take a trip down memory lane. Y'all started dating in your teens. Right. Was it like love at first sight?
The first time, let's see, I'm thinking the first time I met him was in 9th grade and he had a locker above mine or below mine. And so I would say hi to him every morning. That's all I remember. And it wasn't anything. He's just the dude named Jeremy that has a locker by mine. And I think I would say it, "Hi, Jeremy," and go about my day. Then when I started working at Sonic when I was 17. He worked at Sonic. And
She looked good in her black jeans.
Okay.
and the rest was history.
Okay. Now, when you said you saw him, how did you say his name again? You said what?
Hey, Jeremy.
That got you, didn't it, brother?
Oh, I'm telling you.
You were hooked.
Listen, the first time I met her, I knew there was something special about her. And then, she never would talk to me at that point in time. But then when we started working together, she had to talk to me, whether she liked me or she didn't like me. She had to talk to me. And so I had her hooked at that point. Now I could start laying on some charm that I thought I had. I had no charm. Listen.
I have to ask, who started working at Sonic first?
I actually think we started at the same time.
No, you started when Sonic opened, didn't you?
I did. So I was there. So they were opening the store, and the store was not even open. And I had already been hired.
So what did you think when you saw that Cherie was going to be working there as well?
Thank you, God.
That's a great answer, brother. It's true too, but that is a great answer. Yeah. Wow. So what was the air like around y'all? Because obviously Jeremy had an affinity for you, but that you didn't have that affinity yet. So what was it like, Tom chasing Jerry around or what?
Oh, no. Well, I had a son. He was 3 months old. So really, I think I went into it saying, I need to find a good man. And so I saw him and I was like, this is going to work. And about a month into it, well, actually, the first time he ever met my family, he's chasing somebody with his shirt off through Sonic parking lot. And then he's running up and down the stairs like a lunatic. And another time I'm like, this is not the man. But, let's just see what happens. And that he fell in love with my son. And that was it. But we didn't have 16, 17 years old. We didn't do the party and anything. We had a kid. So we would literally go to work, come back, fall asleep and, on the couch. He would get up and go home. It was a lot of just togetherness, really.
So if I'm hearing this right, he used that pickup line, that number one pickup line, right? I have a job. Right. No. Okay. But what I am hearing is that, I'm spitballing here, man, from the top of the dome. So you're kind of a bad boy, but you've got a good heart because you're in love with this infant. That, as you shared with us, not just on the show, but you and I have talked, you fell in love with that boy right away. We had lunch yesterday and of course he had a chance to talk. And, it blesses me, Jeremy, to hear things like that. So I'm not going to get emotional because, I'm a retired soldier. We don't get emotional. Pat, you got emotional. This isn't your show. So, Pat showed some emotions. It was heavy, man. I was right there with him. Look at Pat. He's already got his stick out. Okay. So, you and Cherie you're a couple. You're not married, but you're spending your off time with your son, which you've told me that you've been thinking of him as your son since you met him.
Absolutely.
So, okay, wow, that's responsible. I wasn't like that. So, cool. What else do you want to tell us about that time that time period?
Well, and I think, I was responsibly irresponsible. I was just like any other kid, right? I'm 17, 18 years old. I have no concept of responsibility. I love that child. I love her. We are together, but, I'm still in that phase of recklessness. It's very odd, right? And I don't know that it's odd, right? It's, we get these situations in life and our life takes these directions that we don't typically think that they're going to take, right? If you were to ask me whenever I was 16 years old, was I going to meet a girl at the age of 17 who had a 3-month-old and then we were going to be together and then we weren't going to be together and I was going to go wild and be drinking and partying and doing all the things that I was doing. And then we were going to get back together and then we were going to end up married and then that child was going to be adopted. I would have told you there is no way that will ever happen, right? But there's this divine intervention that happens in all of our lives. And, I believe that people and things and items and situations are placed in our path to help guide and direct us. You know, I made a lot of poor mistakes, and that's where we say, you know, the responsible, right? I'm a party kid that wants to be a party kid, but I also want to be responsible for the things that I'm trying to get to in my life. And that's the reason why I ended up in the Marine Corps, you know, but there were plenty of times in that relationship where I made plenty of mistakes, especially early.
Sure, you have any thoughts?
So I chilled him out.
Well, you say that, and I actually was trying to mull some words together here. You're going through some twisted emotions because on one hand, you as you said earlier, you wanted somebody responsible to be your mate and to be a father figure to your son. Mm-hmm. That kudos to that. But then you saw some other sides of Jeremy that, you know, emotionally is like, is this guy the one? I mean, I love him, but am I going to commit to this guy for your sake and your son's sake? So right. What were those emotions like?
Yeah. So, it wasn't just me. Like I had another, you know, human being I had to think about too. We were not dating very long though, that I'm like, oh, he was so sweet. He was a charmer. When he didn't do boneheaded things, he was the sweetest guy ever. But I think that's probably what happened. We were dating for about a year, and it was our senior year in high school. I was on the journalism team. We had a lot of stuff going on, and I broke up with him. And I said, look, this is our senior year. I just can't, you are a distraction. I just can't do everything. And it's the best thing that happened because then I missed him. And then I really got to see, oh, well, this is what this guy offers. And I asked him to prom. That's how we got back together. Mm-hmm.
And you were like, let me think about it, okay?
That is not exactly how it went, but I can sit here behind the microphone and be, you know, and actually I wonder now, I don't know how that went, but I know that I would have immediately said yes, because, you know, at that particular point in time, there was nobody else that I wanted to be with. You know, I could try to fill that void with whatever, you know, during that time frame that we were separated, but, you know, there was nobody else that I wanted to be with. You know, still today, same thing. You know.
I know this for a lot of people, this is such a cheesy term, but I'm going to throw it out. What do you think of when you hear the term soulmate?
I think that's I think soulmate's a very strong word. I think if you would have asked me that question 5 years ago, I would have said it's just, you know, that kismet, that soulmate, that, you know, divine, whatever that intervention is in the universe that does it right. I think whenever I think about that now with the experiences that I've had and kind of where I'm at in my life, I think it's more of and I'll explain what I mean, what I'm about to say. I think it's the God mate. I think it's the mate that God placed in my path to put me to where I needed to be in my life.
Oh, I so love that word. Yes, I believe in soulmates. The thing about it, though, if you think about your soulmate, it's somebody that is like you and all that. It is not. It is somebody that is totally opposite of you because we are not the same at all. We are totally different. And that's what makes us work, is because he pulls from me and I pull from him. So when you say soulmate, you think, oh, I see, you know, dreamy, everything's perfect, all the, yeah. No, it's somebody totally opposite than you. And that's how you come together. Two beings come together and make one soul. So I think there's people like that. Absolutely.
My folks did couples therapy for a long time. And my mom says, you know, you just got to imagine an incomplete puzzle piece. And then that looks and is shaped, you know, very similar to another piece, but the mechanics or the drawings and everything on that piece, if I'm getting her right, they're very different than the other one, but for some reason they match and they complement each other and they fill in each other's deficits. I think I'm saying that where you seem to be understanding what I'm saying, because I'm not sure I'm making sense. Pat, am I making sense? Am I good? Okay. All right. Sloan, am I good? What, Sam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Assets, deficits.
Yeah. Assets, deficits. Okay. So
I don't really know what I'm talking
So you guys made it through prom, which is the culmination of the senior year, right? Okay. And then as Jeremy shared with us during his show, I had assumed that he just joined the Marine Corps later, but found out you went right in and out of high school. What was going on between y'all during that time and your feelings? I kind of heard Jeremy's, but some of the stuff's going to be a little redundant, but I think for the audience, we need to hear it again. So what was going through y'all's mind when, he comes home and says, "Hey babe, I'm joining the Marine Corps"?
When he said, "I'm going into Marine Corps and I'm moving away," I said, "Oh, that's great for you. I'm never leaving the state of Arkansas or my family." I mean, that was, I wasn't leaving. And he said, okay, but he just kept going along. I didn't think anything about it. But then as our relationship grew, I couldn't wait to leave. Like literally, I was in college when he went to boot camp right out of high school. He went to all of his training and I went to college. And as soon as that last test was over there, I was in a U-Haul truck heading to North Carolina. So my initial reaction was, oh, great for you. I'm not leaving Arkansas, but I couldn't wait to get out of here. Like it was the best thing ever.
Okay. I know we've heard your thoughts before, but that way we have some continuity.
Yeah. And when she told me that, I was crushed and devastated because my initial reaction to go, I'd shared people, share with people and you on the show that I always knew I wanted to be in the military. I just didn't know what capacity that was in. I mean, of course, when you're a kid, like you want to be an astronaut, president of the United States, that's your kind of your path and trajectory, right? Well, how do you get to be an astronaut at that point in time? You're going to, be in school, you're going to college, it's at the Air Force Academy, you're going to be a pilot in the Air Force, you're going to become an astronaut. Next thing you know, you're going to serve in Senate and president, boom, right? This is kind of like a childhood goal. And then whenever my life took that wild turn, whenever I was 12 years old and we moved and my path kind of started tanking, well, all of those dreams kind of went away with, the flight school and all that stuff. And it was just like, okay, I still want to be in the military because my grandfather was in World War II. My family has a history in the Civil War, Revolutionary War. There's artifacts from my family that are in museums from the Revolutionary War. And my dad was in the military. So of course, that's the path that I'm taking. I'm going to be in the military. Well, because of different circumstances in my life, what's the biggest and baddest branch in the military?
U.S. Army. Hooah!
Negative, Bob. I like your enthusiasm. However, we're going to go with
hoorah. United States Marine Corps. Hoorah. See, I worked for a Marine. I know.
Yeah, I know, right? We're going to be with the Teufelhundens, right?
That's right. Yeah, and best boss I ever had, by the way.
Yeah. And so, and like I said, my dad was anti-Marine Corps. My mom was anti-Marine Corps. And then whenever Cherie told me, well, good for you, I'm like, well, I'm partly doing this for us, right? This is, this is going to be the path that's going to set up our family. And, I've already signed the paperwork to go in the Marine Corps. There is no backing out. And, now I'm about to self-destruct again.
Cherie, you gave us some cursory thoughts about yourself, not wanting to go. And then, of course, best thing that happened to you. What kind of emotions did you have about maybe thinking of the future with a Marine?
We are from Arkansas. And so when he said Marine, honestly, I didn't know what that was. You don't see a lot of Marines. I mean, it's just not, it wasn't common, especially back then. Now, once I got over and realized, yes, I want to be with him and I will follow him anywhere. Then I saw the dress blues of the Marine Corps. My whole wedding was done around those colors, red, white, and blue for his.
That's cool.
For his dress blues. I'm like, you have to wear this and this. Oh yeah, it was great.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I'm going to digress for a sec. One of the most famous Marines in history is from Arkansas. Started the sniper program that eventually the other services finally woke up and took advantage of it. Do y'all remember his name?
White Feather.
White Feather. That's right. Gunny, Carlos Hathcock Jr. He's got a book out, 93 Confirmed Kills. And the reason I'm in love with this guy, I actually tried to find him. I wanted to meet him. And it wasn't because he was a killer. It was because when he started the sniper program, he had a bunch of guys lined up that were expert shots. And he asked them, why do you want to be a Marine? Why do you want to be a sniper? Actually, they were already Marines. And if their answer was, I want to kill gooks, he said, you need to find another occupation. If you want to save Americans, you're on the right team. And I was like, what? And the more I read that book, the more I've got to meet this guy. So I digress for a sec, but in his memory, every year they have the Wilson matches here at Camp Robinson. I came out here and met with the staff out there and said, hey, I know by the book that Gunny Hathcock comes out every year. I want to know, how do I go arrange a protocol so I can meet him? You know, I established who I was in my rank, and, you know, and I took advantage of my rank because I wanted to meet this guy. And they're like, dude, he just passed. And I was crushed. I remember sitting in my rental vehicle because I flew out here. I remember sitting in my rental vehicle going, well, God, I guess it was meant to be. But so I digress, but in memory of Gunny Hathcock, you know, one of the most famous Marines, and he came from Arkansas. So there's a little history for you. Yeah. All right. I digress. Thank you for being patient with me. If I was a pro, that probably wouldn't happen. So remember, I told you, host sucks, but the guests are great. Okay. Sloan, Pat, Sam, you got any questions, thoughts, or whatever?
Let's just keep rolling. I'm thoroughly entertained.
All right. So now I just, for emotional reasons, because I'm curious, because I've asked a lot of spouses, both husband and wives, about when you found out Jeremy was going to Iraq, knowing what we were up against. How did you handle that?
I got to think about that. He told me he was leaving. The thing about his last 4 years, he left every February of his last enlistment. So he was gone somewhere. I think that was just kind of getting used to the fact that in Iraq his last year, you know, he'd been going to Iraq his last year. I was worried, but I knew this was what he wanted to do. I know why he went into the Marine Corps. He loves to protect people, and he loved being a Marine. I still have all of his letters from boot camp that we wrote back and forth, where he had to drink so much he had to throw up the cake. And when he writes a letter, it is I can tell in the letter that he's excited about it. So this was for him. Like, I knew he was doing his dream job, so I knew he had to go. I'm trying to remember back. At that point, we had 2 kids, and we lived on military base. It just was it's just, as a military wife, you know, when it happens and they got to go, they got to go. I
love that.
I do have a quick question. What time frame are we talking about? What year was it that you joined, Jeremy?
So I joined the Marine Corps in 1996. So I signed the paperwork to go into the Marine Corps in September of 1995, the day I turned 18 years old. I had shared with Bob and Pat that, you know, my dad and my mom were, you know, they were anti-Marine. They didn't want me to go in the Marine Corps. They wanted me to go in the military, just not in the Marine Corps, right? My dad was Air Force, and so it was Air Force or nothing. No Army, no Marine Corps, no nothing, right? And so, you know, right around that same time in 1992, 93 time frame, you know, I shared this before, you know, this video comes out of these recon Marines pinning their wings on, and my mother sees this, and that's the only image of the Marine Corps that she has. Yeah. And so whenever in 1995, you know, I haven't quite, I'm sorry. Yeah. In 1995, whenever I signed the paperwork, prior to that, I was 17, and you had to have a parent signature to sign up. And so on my 18th birthday, I signed up, waited until August of 1996 to go to boot camp. And then so August of 96, I'm in boot camp. I graduate November the 1st of 1996. I go to combat training on 2 weeks after that, come home for Christmas holiday, and then off to my school.
Wow. Okay. All right. So then we fast forward. You're a good Marine. You're a supporter, a mom, a wife. When did because Jeremy's story was a little bit about, you were kind of like the sober, level-headed one in the family.
Yes.
Right.
Even our drinking stories are not a whole lot alike either.
So tell us about that, because I'm curious how that culminated to where you guys are today. So tell us about that, how your drinking stories really weren't the same.
How our drinking story's not. Well, I think his drinking story was a lot longer. I fit into that category in the book where it says if a woman starts to drink, normally she goes quick. And I became a daily drinker when I picked up that one shot. I told him, I was like, pour me a shot, and had a shot every day. And it got really bad after that. I was 35. So to set it up, yeah, I was like, I would literally drink 2 wine coolers and be drunk before that. It was just like,
Wow.
Yeah. So I was completely, this is probably one of the reasons why I was like, there's no way I can be an alcoholic. Like, I drink alcohol, but I did not do it obsessively. I could drink like normal people. So for a lot of my life, I could. That doesn't mean I wasn't an alcoholic. That just means that alcohol wasn't my solution yet. What happened was my son leaves, because when I married him, all I wanted to do when I got out of high school was be a mom, a wife, and that was my dream. Raise my kids, be a good wife, travel, all that. That was it. Well, when that crumbled, when my son went to college, as they should, my daughter's 16. I'm thinking she doesn't want to be around me. She doesn't like me anymore. He's being a butt. I'm like, this is it. Like, my life is then meaningless. And I'm very much a person who doesn't feel worthy ever. And so that is when I saw him drinking, and we laugh because he tells me stories now of things that happened. I'm like, you were messed up then? What? Like, I don't even know. So it's still like, even though we are both alcoholics, he still tells, I'm still finding out things. I'm like, really?
It's a good thing y'all's relationship is strong, right?
Oh yeah. It's funny. It's funny now, but I'm like, hey, but that is when I took that shot of alcohol, my mind stopped. All the negatives, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, look at everything that's taken away from you, stopped. That's why I became an alcoholic, because I wanted that to, and it just progressed from there.
Okay, so, all right. So up until that point, I'm just gonna, again, I'm shooting from the top of the dome here. So you said that you had some unworthy feelings, and you found your worth in being a mother. Mm-hmm. But now son was on his way to college. Your daughter, when you said she wanted to do it, is that because she's just a teenager?
Yeah, she's 16. I thought that once a kid turns 16, they never want to be at the house. They only want to hang out with her friends. So I thought, she doesn't like me. She doesn't want to be around me. We had an okay relationship until I started drinking.
Okay, so then I see where that void grew. And we're going to talk more about that when we do your actual show. But now that you are finding some fulfillment through the bottle, what was your drink of choice, by the way?
Anything you had, anything you poured in it. There was nothing. I was not, anything.
Wow. No particular scotch, rum, or what are women known for? Vodka? Sam, what was yours?
Wine.
Wine?
Yeah.
Gosh.
And then it was like anything that was in the liquor cabinet.
Okay.
That's how it progressed. Yeah.
Well, we're in the right crowd here, right? Except for Pat. Pat was a beer guy. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to tell you something about Cherie. Whenever she started drinking, it was like drinking with one of my Marine Corps buddies. It was like drinking with a man. I mean, seriously, like it didn't matter whether I brought home Turkey 101, tequila, vodka. It wasn't beer. It wasn't wine. It wasn't wine coolers. It was the hardest possible drink that we could get in front of us. And that was what she drank.
Okay. Now, what is your relationship like?
With
you two. You're both slamming it, whatever, right?
Drunk,
you're active alcoholics. What's your life look like right there?
It was so ugly.
Yeah.
It was so ugly. Everything that you think that comes with alcohol, and then being together. Oh my gosh, fights, yelling, things getting broke. I became very, when I drink, I become very needy, codependent. I wouldn't go to work unless he drove me, or wouldn't go to a work event. I got very clingy to him too. That was one of the things. It was ugly. Actually, it started really fun. We were like, this is it. Like, we've been waiting for this time. kids are almost out of the house. This is us. This is woohoo party time. And that was fun for about a year. And then then when you drink alcoholically, the parties stop, but you don't. And it's just easier to stay home and drink. And so by the end of our drinking, we had been, before that, we loved to go out four-wheeler riding. We had traveled to different states to four-wheeler ride. We were drinking then, but it wasn't to the extreme yet. And so by the time we did get sober, we did not do anything. It was work, home to drink, work, home to drink, fight, pass out, fight, pass out, get up and go to work.
So I hear so much in an individual alcoholic's journey, they end up isolating. They're just but you two, then you isolated separately, but in the same house.
Oh yes. Especially the last little bit we would drink. I think I would drink and pass out. And that's when he would wake up and then he would drink and then pass out. And then, cause he was always asleep. So I'm like, dude, he's been asleep for a long time. More wine for me, but really I've been passed out. He'd been up drinking probably towards the end. That was, but also he tried to hide alcohol. So that way, I couldn't find it. So I wouldn't drink before I went to work. Well, that was just fun because, we didn't buy the little bottles. We bought the huge, there's only so many places you could put a gallon of alcohol. And I'm going to find it. So I didn't even go to work. I would be late to work to search through the house to find it because I'm going to find it and I'm going to get some drinks. It's just crazy stuff like that. Crazy.
You had your own version of Easter hunting there, right?
Yeah.
It was like hiding an Easter egg, Bob. I would wake up in the morning. I would take a drink because I didn't want her to drink in the morning before she went to work, but it was okay for me to drink. And so I would take a drink and then I would go hide. We're not talking like a lot of alcohol, right? We're talking, we've had, by the time the end of the night has come at the end of our drinking, we've drank a pint before we go to the gym. Then we go to the gym. And this is like not the last year of our drinking. This was like the last 2 years before our drinking came to an end. We would come home, we would do a couple of shots, we would go to the gym, then we would come back, we would get dinner, and then we would start on a handle of liquor. Okay. We would drink that handle of liquor. There would be enough for maybe 2 or 3 shots left in it by the next morning when we woke up. And then now I'm trying to hide it in a jacket or a boot or a closet somewhere so that she doesn't find it in the morning and drink before she drives to work, and then, she's waking up in that little game, that little Easter egg hunt that she's talking about, every single day doing the same thing over and over again. And that was just the way that it was, and then we got down to that last year of drinking into the beginning of 2017. And oh my gosh, man, it was all bets were off then. It was, you were not going to the gym. You're not going out with your friends. You're just isolated.
Up to this point, did either one of you ever consider throwing in the towel and just getting out of the relationship? Did that ever happen?
You
answer. Honestly, yes. Yeah. I think that if anybody in my situation or in our situation, drinking the way that we were, acting the way that we were to sit here across from you and say that I never thought that this relationship should come to an end or was going to come to an end would be lying. Because did I want the relationship to end? No. Did I want the relationship to continue the way that it was? No. Because you got to think, for me, so I started drinking at the age of 16. Throughout my Marine Corps career, I drank. Whenever I look back at that period of drinking, I was drinking alcoholically, right? Whenever I would drink way to excess. There was never really a shut off or a cut off. It was either drink, pass out, or drink and nothing's gone. You would go out and, have a drink at dinner or something like that every now and then. But for the most part, whenever I partied. And I could sit here and tell you countless war stories, but that's not what we're here for, right? And you get to a place, for me, I did. And I can say that, a good 3 or 4 years before I quit drinking, I am just absolutely miserable and something has got to change. I'm talking with other people about, I'm not saying that I'm an alcoholic, but, like I've got to figure out whether I'm going to go on a walkabout and dry myself out or, how we're going to do this. Right. And so I think that, yes, there are always those thoughts, something's got to change, whether that's a relationship change, whether that's you changing, what that looks like. But you can't sit here and say that, no, that thought never crossed my mind. Because I'll tell you something about me. I'm a very toxic person. I can be. And toxic in a position of like, it doesn't matter whether you're family or friend or foe. When I'm done with you, I'm done with you, and I will cut you off and chop you off at the knees, and I will never look at you again. And I can do that. I can do that to anybody.
I don't even think I'm going to follow that. I don't know that it ever, I was, all I cared about was alcohol. I really don't even think I even thought or cared if he was there or not there. I mean, it was just alcohol. It was the only thing that made my mind shut up. So, I can't say that I honestly thought I'm leaving there. I wasn't leaving him. He was the one driving blackouts to go get me alcohol. I wasn't about to leave my...
Wasn't going to leave the dealer.
Right.
No, you had me.
It's just because Pat and I and Sloan, since we've ever seen y'all, we never saw you in those days, of course. But, having seen you guys in your recovery journey, you just don't think, we can't visualize it because we know you. But every time we see y'all, just happy. You're always talking to people. Just people love you. Y'all never meet strangers. So to imagine that you lived that life at that time is just, I have to force myself to imagine it. And it's sad. It's very sad. And I'm just so happy to know who I'm talking to today. Before we transition out of this subject, I'd like to hear your version of the dog.
Oh, my version of the dog. The whole version?
Let's go.
Oh, gosh. I don't know why y'all love this dog story. Y'all just laugh. The guys just laugh. And I'm going, y'all, this is flesh. He's got holes in his body still. How can this be? But y'all love it.
It's a guy thing.
Okay, so he was working, I don't remember. He was working a different shift. And so he wanted a dog in the house that would be big to protect me at night. And so we got this dog, and he was off anyways. Love him to death. He was wonderful. But like the kids next door were jumping on their trampoline, he busted through the pickets and broke the pickets to get to them to bark at him. Now, he wasn't going to hurt them. So things had happened that were red flags, but we just thought he was just a big dog. So, he did that. Never had the other dog we had was a black lab. So, he grew up, and the first night that he got bit, we were fighting. He wanted to leave. I told him no. I was like, no, I don't want you to leave, because I knew he was drunk. And so we went into the room. Somehow I got him into the bedroom and thought it was a good idea to close the door. Didn't realize the dog was in there, because he's always by our side. He jumped in his lap, so it wasn't like he was a totally only my dog. He liked him, but there was just something about the way he. So from what I remember, I was beside the bed, and Jeremy was over somewhere beside me, and we were arguing back and forth, and I didn't hear the dog growl. Jeremy said the dog growled. I didn't hear anything. I'm arguing with him. Something goes flying behind me. I turn around and look, and it's Jeremy laying on the ground with the dog in his crotch. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And I think he said, he's biting me. And I'm like, because he's so quiet, like he's not yelling, screaming. He's not saying anything. And I'm like, what is happening? And I think he said he's biting me. And I grabbed him. He let go, got off, took him into another room. So that incident, so we ended up driving anyways, because we had to drive the emergency room, of course. I'm drunk too, and Cherie doesn't drive drunk. She lets the dealer drive drunk, so he can get caught. That's the way this goes. There was a thing of flesh probably, I don't know, how big do you think? It was probably not big, probably half an inch by half an inch, but it was
About the size of a $50.
It was not, I don't think, was it that big? Okay, anyway, so we're still drinking. So it was laying in our garage for the longest time. And it was from him where apparently when we were walking out, maybe the piece of flesh fell off. And
It's so gross.
it is gross, but here's what's so bad. We were still drinking so much that we looked at it and I said, hey, is that your flesh? He's like, yeah, that is. And we never picked it up. We just left it there and walked by it. Like, who does that? So the dog, we did not think that the dog would get taken away because we lived in city limits. We get to the hospital, we lie to him and tell him we were arguing about laundry or something, and the dog jumped on, attacked you. Anyways, they come and they take the dog. It was horrible. This dog, so every day for 10 days, he had to stay. We had to pay like $500. He had to stay there for 10 days. We could go visit. Y'all, the dog cried. Have you ever seen tears coming out of a dog's eyes? I have never in my life. And we would go visit him, and he would just sit there and cry. You remember that? It was, I've never seen it. It's heartbreaking. But it was 10 days, and after about 5 days, I think, I was just too drunk I'm not even going. He kept going to visit the dog. I wouldn't even go see the dog. So we made plans. What are we going to do with the dog? We said, okay, this was just a one-time deal. We're not going to fight, and we're not going to drink. This dog has saved our lives because we're going to stop drinking now because this happened. Dog comes back, and we didn't quit drinking. We probably slowed down a little for a little bit, but I'm trying to think. So the second time, this was right before we got sober. Actually, we went to detox, and he was still healing from the second dog bite in detox. I remember them going, would you look at him? Because he's been bit, and he needs to make sure he's not affected. Yeah. So the second time, it was bad. It was a holiday weekend. Our drinking was, it was really bad. We were supposed to be going to the lake. We were at home arguing about the lake, and we're in the kitchen, and he's saying something. Jeremy is mad, and he takes up the bottle of alcohol and he starts slamming it on the counter. And slamming it to enough that when we sold that house, it still had the marks on the counter. Well, for whatever reason, that freaked the dog out. Well, now the dog attacks him from behind. Now, I'm thinking, okay, I closed him in the door, so this is partly my fault for the first one. But the second one's like, he just comes and attacks him from behind. Same darn thing, though. I turn around and look, and he is going backwards, and he's not saying a word. He does not.
You're not saying a word, Jeremy? Like, no. I'm under attack here. Wow.
No, he's not yelling. He's very quiet. There has been other instances where, yes, he gets very quiet and does the job.
I'm very quiet and tactical, Bob. I'm a Marine.
Well, we're not allowed to freak out till the mission's over, right? Okay.
Correct.
So that was, yeah. So we got the dog. I put him in a room. He is very mad at me, yelling at me that it's my fault. This is when we could have gone to jail because he calls the the animal control. I didn't know this. There's alcohol laying everywhere. We're both slobbered, drunk. It's and the guy comes in, and I remember I couldn't even write the report. Like, can you write what happened? I said, no, you just have to take this dog. And he had a camera, and he took one picture. And I remember, I'll never forget, because sitting on the side on our counter was 2 shot glasses. And that's what he took a picture of. So he knew what was going on. That's the only thing. Didn't even dawn on me then. So he comes out of the room while the guy is still there, and he is very mad at me, telling me it's my fault. I think that this was all my fault. And so, yeah, we started arguing in front of the animal control guy. So there could be, we were thinking, well, cops are going to show up now at some point in time. But they take the dog, and this time we have to have the dog euthanized because it's now bit him twice, once from behind. it's not, which I will say too, that particular litter of dogs, every one of them got rehomed or put down. So something was wrong, but honestly, listening to Jeremy's podcast when he talks about that was kind of like his aha moment that why does my dog not like me and I keep getting bit? That's amazing. That's a dog that lost its life to get us sober. So that is what an honor.
Definitely a silver lining.
Yes, this is why we have random dogs running around our house that we love and take care of, because it's just paying back. So that's the dog story.
Thank you. Any thoughts before we move on?
No, and that's where I've shared my story several times, and I've always asked that question before I get started, and it's kind of that laughing moment, right? Has anybody here ever gotten sober because of a dog? And I have ran into one person that said I got sober because my dog told me to get sober, right? But I do credit that dog giving its life to get me to the point where I was willing to do something different.
Yeah. What do you call that? Like an epiphany, where there's
my sponsor calls that a subtle hint.
A subtle hint. Yeah. And I think some of us, we get more than one, and some of us never listen to any of them. But obviously everybody in this room finally listened to at least one of them. So thanks for sharing that story. I'm a little taken back because I didn't know that last part, that the dog had to be euthanized. I think, Jeremy, now that I think about it, you started to share that with me today, and I said, hold it, because I want to capture this on the show. And it just dawned on me, that's what you were going to tell me. Ow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I absolutely love that dog. I still love that dog today. Now, there were a lot of tears that were shed over that dog in that event, but it's funny now.
Yeah.
I don't even really think about the scars that I have left over from that. But like I had shared with y'all in the podcast that I did, I mean, whenever I say that dog bit me on the front everywhere, like that dog bit me on the front everywhere.
Wow. Yeah. Well, when you mentioned that piece of flesh in the garage there, I had a devil visual, and I was like, no.
Well, that came out of my leg. I'll let you.
I'll
let you off the hook on that one.
Hallelujah.
I was trying my best not to get a mental picture there, but thank you for that.
No, but inquiring minds.
Yes.
All right. So, that did the dog incident. Did that put you into the detox, or where did that go from there?
No, so that put me into the mindset that, look, I've got a problem. Prior to that, I knew that I had a problem. I kind of shared that, a little bit earlier about, whether it was me and my friend that got sober in 2016. He and I would always talk because we would drink and drug at work, and we would both look at each other and be like, man, why are we doing this? We wouldn't call ourselves addicts. We wouldn't call ourselves alcoholics, but we would say, we need to just go dry out and go on a walkabout. We need to go to the Appalachian Trail and hike the Appalachian Trail for a few months and, detox from society and alcohol and all the things, right? And when the dog incident happened, man, I had shared with you that I had wanted to be a first sergeant in the Marine Corps. That was my dream. When I went back into the military, I went back into the Air National Guard, so I'm kind of affiliated with the Air Force. My path and trajectory at that point was still there are first sergeants in the Air Force. That's what I want to do. Okay. In the year that the dog incidents are taking place, like I get promoted to E7. We have a ceremony for that promotion. I get bit by the dog the first time 1 week prior to that promotion ceremony. And it is held in the same hotel where we have a conference, an AA conference now. And it's like a dress uniform, big ball gowns. We go in there, we're drunk and, hungover and all of these things. And I'm still bleeding. And, we do all of that. That summer, I get the position to become a first sergeant, and now I'm looking at Cherie saying, I can't screw this up. And then we fast forward like a month later and I'm getting bit by the dog again for the second time. And so to get to the question you asked is I knew at that point that something was wrong and something was going to have to change. How are we going to control this drinking? I still don't want to quit drinking, but I've got to control it. And so, we're going to do half pint. We're going to do a half pint here and then maybe a pint here right before we go to bed, or, maybe some wine in there. Or,
you guys are agreeing to this together.
A little bit of beer and this is what's happening. But the thing is that for 7 days, maybe not 7 days, I won't say a period of time because I really don't remember honestly, right? After the dog bit me, I don't go to work. I'm on military orders. I'm on active duty orders. And I'm not going to work. I'm just telling them, hey, my dog bit me and I'm whatever. Well, after so many days, they're like, hey, dude, this doesn't fly. You need to come to medical and get checked out. And we need to make sure, lay eyes on you. And now I'm the first sergeant of the squadron, right? And they call me one day and the chief calls me and he says, hey, look, you've got to go and here's where the mental health is. They're expecting you to show up. You need to show up, talk to them about what's going on. Because I'm like, man, everything that is going on in my life is PTSD related. It's all due to, trauma from the Marine Corps, deployment to Iraq, stuff like that. I'm not telling anybody that I'm drinking the way that I'm drinking.
Right.
And so now I'm doubling down on this, man, I can't screw this up. And so, we're drinking, and now right at a month goes by between the time that the dog bit me the second time and the time I ended up in detox. But during that time, it's I can tell you these weird stories, right? And it's this phenomenon of, I tell people all the time, if you question whether you're an alcoholic, read chapter 3 of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because everything that it talks about in those first 2.5 pages, we were doing during that time frame. Get a pint, have a bottle of wine. Oh crap, it's 9:30 and we haven't had enough. Let's run down to the gas station and get another bottle of wine real quick. That type activity during that time frame.
Oh yeah, it was nothing for Sunday since we live where they don't sell alcohol on Sunday. There's one place that they do. So if we drank it all on Sunday too much, we would race there and be able to pick up a little bit for the rest of the night to make us through the next morning. That was normal. That was what we did. But we did everything. We worked different shifts too. So let me say that. So we weren't always together drinking either. I worked a normal 8 to 5. You worked, when did you work then? 3 to, no?
No, I was working during the day.
Were you working during the day too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I just didn't even know you were there. Okay, well, I was drunk. But that was, yeah, I do remember that.
But your journey started about the same time because Jeremy, you go to a detox. Cherie, how far behind Jeremy are you in deciding to go abstinent?
6 hours after, he went into detox and I went in 6 hours after. Now, I will tell you though, when they took him that morning, I was not going to detox. I locked them out of the house. He told them where the rest of the wine was, and I was so mad at him because there was a whole bottle. I still got a whole bottle that I could drink here now. Yeah, my husband is literally shaking to death, which I know where he's going. I know he's going to get help to a hospital somewhere, and all I can think about is there's just one bottle. I know there's just one bottle of wine left, because a friend of mine came over.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I was losing my driver. This is about me. What the heck? What is going on? Oh, so we have 24 hours difference. We have different sobriety dates. We're 24 hours apart.
But that's so close. I mean, how many times do you hear somebody go into recovery and then the significant other either never goes in or goes in at a much later time? Yours is within 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, I was following him. I've been following the boy I mean, since we got married, like I was just like, well, dang. I was like, dang, he's really going to do this. Well, I can't let him do this without me. I got to go try it too. I mean, what the heck? I mean, I wasn't seriously going to stay sober. I came into Alcoholics. I didn't want to quit. There was nothing about me that wanted to quit. Absolutely not. Where he was ready, I was not. But I just needed to learn how to drink responsibly again.
Oh, sure.
I thought there was a go back, a rewind button. So that's what I was just looking for, that rewind button. That was what I needed. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we are definitely going to capture your story and get more details on this. But for now, I just want to capture you're both in recovery. I have some questions and if y'all have them, please jump in. Did you start to see each other different now that you're sober? And I'm talking about immediately, long term, where you're at now. Did you see each other differently?
I think we probably almost got a divorce in sobriety in the first year more than when we were drinking. I think that would be pretty fair to say. No, I don't know how you get sober by yourself. Just you and your partner is not even an alcoholic. I've never done that. Don't plan on it. So I don't know what that's like. But I know for two alcoholics, just remember what you felt like. It's awful trying to get sober. And then you live with somebody who's going through the same awful stuff. And we have no tools in our toolbox yet. We're just trying to not drink, going crazy, trying to work the steps. He gets a sponsor. I got a sponsor. Then I had to work the steps really fast to beat him to step 4. And so it's still very, very, it's kind of competitive. But yeah, I don't think we didn't not get along, but we didn't get along. No, that's, I don't know how anybody can know.
There's a lot of transition that has to happen yet.
Why?
Right.
So, were y'all so weaved together with your alcohol and your marriage was so interwoven? How getting sober, how did that break? How did it break apart and then come back together? Did you guys have to be individual with your completely individual and then come back together? Or were you riding that wave together?
Good question.
That is a fantastic question. And I'm going to answer your question. It's going to be a very long roundabout trail to get there. So I'm going to try to do it as quickly as possible. But to answer your question is Bob, I really did not see her any different because complete honesty, in that first 6 months, a year of my sobriety, I am getting sober, but I am still the same selfish, self-centered butthole that I ever was when I was drinking. I'm just doing it now without drinking. Right. And I've got somebody else that's willing to tell me, that I'm being selfish and self-centered. I've got, Cherie finding her voice willing to tell me that I'm being selfish and self-centered. And that caused a lot of animosity and a lot of anger and a lot of feelings inside of me. And that's where I would 100% agree with her that we came closer in that first year to divorce than we ever did during our drinking. But it came to a head, to answer your question, for me. By this point, I'm not working with the military. I'm working in a civilian job. I'm working on a different shift. She's working during the day. I'm working from 3:30 to midnight. And so we're just she's doing her thing. I'm doing my thing. I go to meetings sometimes. I don't go to meetings sometimes. I do whatever I want at the house. I go to work. I come home. We fight. We argue. I had become so codependent on her and our relationship. And this is this story. We've talked about it before, and I'm going to share it. Is we had come so codependent on each other, we didn't even realize it. We didn't realize it when we were drinking. We didn't realize it in our sobriety. We went to the same meetings together. We did the same things together. We, talked to the same people. She didn't have her friends. I didn't have my friends. We just had friends, right? But we would still argue and we would still fight. And I remember we had an argument one day and I left and go to work and I was driving home and I'm coming down what is now, the I-57 or the highway from, Jacksonville, and you have a split at that highway. And this epiphany comes over me. And I don't know. It was just like, you're going to be okay whether you're with her or you're not with her. It doesn't matter whether y'all stay together or you don't stay together. And I had a choice to make at that intersection. Go to Memphis or go home. And I didn't know which way my truck was going to go until I actually went through that intersection. And I ended up at home, and I shared that with her the next day. And it was just like this immense weight had come off of me, that no matter what happens in my life, I'm always going to be okay, whether that's with her or without her. I love her dearly, and I want to stay with her. But we had become so intertwined in our relationship that we didn't even know how codependent on each other we were. Wow. Right.
And I wouldn't say that like it was always fighting and sobriety and stuff. And I will say that I didn't like meetings. I would go to meetings because he was going to meetings. So for me, that was very helpful in my sobriety because, again, he got on fire for AA very quickly and he loved it. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, can you not? Like, no, I don't want to go with these people. No, I don't want to eat. Yeah, I was very, no. I had not worked the steps yet. I was 2 months sober before I got a sponsor. And I was to the point of like, I'm doing something. I'm either dying or drinking, or I'm going to do what they say and work the steps. Ooh, it changed my life. But I will say we were told a lot of times in sobriety, if you're together and you're alcoholics, you still work separate programs. Don't work his program. Don't work, it's very hard to do, but it's so true. One of our great members of our group that's not there anymore, I remember he came up to me early on and he said, what's he say? Your sobriety has to be the most important thing above your marriage, above anything. Your sobriety comes first. And I'm thinking, you don't know what I've done for this guy. Like, you don't know how, because when my kids left, taking care of him became my only, this is what I can do to be. So, yeah, it was very hard for me to disconnect myself from him as well. But you have to do it. I said we're totally different. Our sobriety journey doesn't even look the same. Like, it's just two totally different. But yeah, I think that's it. I think it's very hard. It's another element of sobriety. I think it can be good and I think it can be bad. I think you all have twists and turns. I think for us, this is what we were meant to go through. So, it is what it is. We figured it out.
Yeah, and I think we're stronger for it now today. Now, that doesn't mean that, we haven't had, other issues and other times and things that have happened. But, we have an outlet to actually have conversations. And, like, I can't tell. I love, like, what. If you ever read the book Alcoholics Anonymous, on pages 417 is the infamous, acceptance is the answer, right? My favorite part of that is not that paragraph. It's what's written on page 418 and 419. Whenever he talks about his wife, how he develops a relationship with his wife, Max, and that was something that was pivotal for me because I can sit here and say she has these feelings and I can't tell her that she doesn't have those feelings because she does. She's entitled to her feelings, and it's not my right to tell her that she shouldn't feel that way. We can talk about how we feel, but we can't tell each other how to feel.
Yeah, respect.
Well said.
Yeah. Guys? I'm just really don't know how to even ask you to broach this, but you both worked the steps. You both encountered step 9. How did that look between y'all on making amends? I don't need, please, I'm not looking for specifics. Right. Just.
Well, I'll tell you. So she alluded to it. It became a race to who could work through the steps first.
You knew we were racing?
Well, I knew we were racing, yeah. But the problem is that she drug her feet getting a sponsor I got a sponsor a month after I went to detox, and I shared that story, right? How that worked out. However, she worked the steps faster than me. And so we're coming down to step 8 and 9 with me and my sponsor, and she's already making amends to me on her 9th step. And I'm like, whoa, because I got to be honest with you, Bob, I'm terrified how this is going to go. Like, I have not lived correctly. I've not, treated her correctly the way that a husband should treat a wife. I've not treated my children the way that a father should treat their children, and so I've got to do this. I've got to do an amends with her. My son lives in Seattle, and he's actually coming in town, like right whenever I make my 8th step, and I'm getting ready to work at step 9. And so now I've got to make an amends to Cherie at this point in time. My son is coming home from Seattle with his wife, and I've got to make an amends to him at the same time. I am terrified. Now, she's already made her amends, and I absolutely accepted it, and I understood exactly everything that she said. I'm like, what am I going to say? And, in that exact moment, I think that, as long as we ask our higher power to come into our lives, we're going to get the words. But the bigger part of that is, as long as I had a conversation with my sponsor before I made that amends, I had the words. We had basically written out exactly what I was to say and how I was to say it. And I remember the day that we both smoked at the time. We were sitting on the back porch smoking one day, and she made her amends to me. I'll let her tell her, her side of that, but she made her amends to me. And, it was kind of like our wedding proposal for me. It was kind of like I'm sitting out there on the back porch smoking, and I'm like, well, here it goes. It's now or never, and I say, listen, I need to make an amends to you. And, this is what for, and, did it. And this weight again, it's kind of like that moment that I talked about driving home that night. It's like this weight comes off of you, right? I didn't know whether she was going to accept that, forgive that. At that point in time, I'm still not sure what this relationship is going to look like going forward, but I do know that I want to be with her, and thankfully, the right words came out, and we're still sitting here today. I've made many amends since then.
10 step, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't remember. I vaguely remember his amends to me, and I vaguely remember my amends to him. When you're newly sober and you make that amends, I know it was very general. I'm sorry for the way I have treated you in my alcoholism. We couldn't point out, and for us at that point in time, we probably didn't need it. God knew exactly what he was doing. We needed a kind of, I think it was more kind of like a blanket. I want to say I'm sorry for the way I've been to you. It wasn't let's not start shooting bullets at each other. You did this, because that could have easily happened. And I gotta be honest, I was a little upset when he got mad, or when he got done. I was thinking, that's it? That's all you're going to say? I never told you that. I'm like, that's it. I wanted a list. I wanted this. I wanted that. That's what I wanted, not what I needed. There's a big difference. And I definitely think, I know people talk about living amends, and sometimes it's a thing, sometimes you don't like it. I really think in our instance, to stay together, and we had to do more of a living amends. Let me show you, because you can tell me you're sorry, but then you can turn around and act like a jerk the next day, and are you really sorry? So I think for us, it was more of a living amends. It was a spoken, I am sorry for the way this is not who I want to be, but it was very blanketed, and it needed to be then at that point.
Wow, well said. I could see that. So if I can just kind of digest this here. So you guys make your amends, but you're not really specific. You're doing the blanket thing, but then you're going to set the example for each other. But then things come up down the road, memories or whatever, and you feel like, you know what, I need to address this because it's the right thing to do. And then as other things come up in what we would call normal people's relationships, you deal with them like normal people, because maybe some of the tools in the program have taught you, hey, I've got to address this. I can't. it's not the right thing to do. This is the woman or the man I want to spend the rest of my life with. So we need to talk through this, right? Am I digesting this okay?
Yes.
Okay, you're laughing.
Yes, because you just read. It brought up the first time I lied to him in sobriety.
Do we want to tell that story?
I do.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening. I like juice.
Not a bad story. So, you know the story, Pat? You don't know the story. You don't. I don't tell it very often.
This is an amazing story. Please listen. It is awesome. I've got to tell you, this is one of the few times that I get to sit back and just laugh.
Okay. So we are sober. We have bought a new house. We've got a bigger yard. We're mowing and stuff. And I'm going to mow. Was it the mower or the weed eater? Which one was it?
Power washer.
Oh, see. Okay. So I'm going to power wash, right? And I get out there and I start power washing. Well, then I run out of gas. Well, there's all these gas cans. No. I'm just going to grab the little one and I'm going to fill it up. So I fill it up. I try to start the power washer. The darn thing won't start. And I try and try and try. And so finally I'm like, hey, I can't get this to start. I don't know what's wrong with it. And so he looks at it for a minute and he says, now, did you put regular gas in it or did you use that little can over there? Honest to God, I didn't think twice about it. I just lied. Like it's an old habit. You know, we don't get sober and then all the bad habits go away. We have to learn how to make them go away. So I just said, no, I didn't. He asked me 3 times. Like, he's like, are you sure you didn't put, because it fit? I don't know how he knew, probably by my face. But I was like, no, I did not. And it's the first time in my life, though, since I had been working the steps and I had just a little bit of tools, I went, ding, you're lying. This is a lie. Why are you even lying? It came out of my mouth before I even knew what was said, you know? And
you are so cute. Keep going. I love this.
It's the awfulest thing. And so finally I just break. I was like, I am so sorry. That was me. Yeah, I put that other stuff in it. I just lied to you. Blah, 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 blah. You know, my heart is just coming out because this is awful. And he looks at me and dies laughing. He's like, if you'd have just told me that from the get-go, I wouldn't have been over here doing all this stuff. I had it fixed in like 5 minutes. But yeah, so, I mean, it's things like that, you know, you don't have the tool and you don't automatically know how to act. You have to do things and go, oh, wait, that's wrong.
So did you put the chainsaw gas into the power washer? Is that what it was?
Yes, I did.
The mixed?
No, well, it was the mixed gas.
It was diesel fuel.
Oh, diesel fuel! Oh,
I did not even know that.
Immediately took the cap off of the gas tank and could smell that diesel. And I knew from the start, the whole time, and that's why, like, I died laughing on the inside. That's why I asked her, like, it's kind of like you're asking your kid, right? When your kid comes home and they've been driving the car and it's like, are you sure you didn't drive the car? I mean, I'm asking you this question, like, you know, as long as we have some honesty here, we're going to be okay, right?
Perhaps you need to think about your answer and answer me again.
I'd like to ask one more question before we go on break. But before I do, I want to give Pat, Sloan, Sam, anything we've covered so far y'all want to jump in on, questions or whatever? All right. So on episode 30, we've got an in-depth look at Jeremy's survival through his just absolute bizarre sickness. Okay. So listening audience, not trying to be cruel, but you need to listen to episode 30 because that is just an amazing story. The part, though, that I want to ask is, how did you deal with it, Cherie? I mean, we've got a real in-depth look at Jeremy's, story. What's going through your mind during this time? And the follow-up question is not only what's going through your mind, did it draw you closer to Jeremy?
Good question. I'll start out by saying, remember when I said I didn't want to be an alcoholic and I just wanted to learn how to drink? 100% without a doubt, because I'm an alcoholic, I was able to get through that. Had I not had the tools that we learned in the program and from lying to him about, the funny things, but had I not had the tools to know what to do when I didn't know what to do, I couldn't have done it. Absolutely not. The fact that I am an alcoholic is what saved my life through what he went through. Because, you don't get, I have never been around people in hospitals sick. I'm not familiar with it at all. So in a matter of 4 weeks, we're both working, life is good. In a matter of 4 weeks, he can't even get up off the couch to, walk to the bathroom. Neither one of us is working because I'm taking care of him and he's taking, we don't know what's going on. And I've said this before, that's when the tools happen. You don't always need them until you need them. So you don't know if you're going to use them until you use them, and I will say that had I not remembered be of service, he's laying there. He's in basically a comatose state. He's on life support. There's nothing you can do but look at the man. No, you can be of service to somebody else. In that period of time, I talked to one of the nurses about alcoholism and her husband, if he wasn't an alcoholic, her mom. We made a friend that we didn't even know was in the program until after he woke up, that came to a meeting with us. So how I handled that, God, I don't know. I'm going to, in the moment, it is so you're not believing this is even happening that I don't think you can react. You just go. I mean, it was a pure day-to-day, what I always loved was be where your hands are at. That's what I learned early in sobriety. Be where your hands at. My hands are at the cafeteria. So I'm going to go find something to eat. My hands are, making this for this or doing this, arts and crafts. I did a lot of those because it just kept my mind busy. But yeah, be where your hands are at. I could feel, I know this is funny, but everybody back here was praying. And the amount of support, I didn't necessarily get it via text or, I got it through a Facebook or whatever, but I wasn't in the mind space to be able to answer all the texts and look. I could physically feel an army behind me. Like it was behind me and it was people. And it was all people that were here. Now we're 6 hours away from here, but I could just feel this feeling of people's prayers just behind me, holding me up. I mean, I don't know any other way to explain it, but so if you ever wonder if your prayers work, I can tell you they do because they held me up in a lot of days. Like, I'm not going to give up because I know there's people praying. I can feel them behind me and they're pushing me on. And I'll tell you this, one of the things so before he ever left, when he was getting sick, we knew a transplant was going to happen. I had a dream before we ever went on Easter. And it was, I saw a calendar and it was May 9th and 10th. Okay. This was in March, right? Mm-hmm. So I woke up, I said, hey, something is going to happen on May 9th and 10th. I think you're going to get your lungs. I don't know, just something happened. That's all I got in my dream. And so that was my God saying, you're about to go through some stuff. If you can wait till the May 9th and May 10th, it's going to be okay. I hung on to that for dear life. I told him about it. I told his mom about it. I told my sister about it. So when things started going down, kind of like where God said to him, you're going to be okay. I knew, just hold out. Something is going to happen and it's bigger than you. That's a God I found in Alcoholics Anonymous once I cleaned out all the other stuff. And so sure enough, all the stuff happened. And on May 9th, I knew it. And it was one of the things, they were going to do a heart surgery on May 8th. And they decided they couldn't fit him in. I was like, that's okay. Tomorrow's May 9th. Something happens. But, we're alcoholics. I'm like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I'm starting to kind of go, I don't know about I trust you, God, but this is heavy. Like this is major. The man has died at this point twice and been brought back. So, on May 9th, we got told that we were getting a set of lungs. And on May 10th, he had a lung transplant. Tell me that is not a God
Wow.
that does.
Wow, I'm glad you filled in the other half of the story. I mean, we've heard Jeremy's part, but to hear you say that's higher power talk there.
Absolutely.
I want to transition to Jeremy real quick, but then I want to come back to this and then we'll go on break. Your thoughts on this?
Oh, man. I think, I've already shared a lot of what I shared about my journey through my sickness and transplant. But, I want to tag on to kind of what she said about the army that got behind her. Man, I cried and I was in tears whenever we did the initial podcast. I'm going to cry and be in tears, again right now. I got it. I sat down across the table with a friend of mine in March. We went and had lunch one day. He just looked at me and, I'm toting around an oxygen tank and I'm on oxygen and he looks at me and this is that power that we find and that army that we have behind us and the people that push us and hold us up. And I knew that no matter what happened to me, she was going to be okay. And he looked at me and he asked me just flat out, he said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Man, I'm fine." And he said, "You're lying to yourself." And I said, no, I'm not. And I told him this whole story of what happened in January, whenever God spoke to me, all that. And that friend and his wife came to St. Louis. And while they were there, they came to the hospital and visited Cherie. I had other friends that were here from the military that came to St. Louis because I was still in the military at the time. I was supposed to retire the weekend that I went on life support.
Wow.
And I had already dropped my retirement paperwork, like everything was set in stone. And the command ended up getting it approved to extend it through, Guard Bureau and Higher Air Force and all this stuff, while I'm not even really awake enough to try to even do anything. And so they come up and they visit her. And then her now sponsor and my grand sponsor come up and they visit her. And the weirdest stuff happens, okay? I have all kinds of stories that I can tell y'all about the days whenever I was not lucid, okay? I had no idea who was there, but apparently I knew something because this one particular individual, I'm going to tell you a funny story and then I'm going to tell you a story that are just like, it's still today. I don't share this story very often, but I'll share it today because I think it's pretty powerful. In the funny dream is that, you're on all this stuff, right? And things run together and, you're on all of this cocktail of drugs to keep you sedated. I've got tubes coming out of me everywhere, out of my throat, my neck, my legs, but I'm having this dream that I'm with this particular individual and we're going to Dollar General to get the body parts to fix me. Okay. And I shared this with Cherie after I woke up. And I'm like, did this really happen? Like, no, it didn't, right? But that's what's going on in my mind. This is the tape that's playing, right? Yeah. I know, right? We were able to go around to all of them and pick them up. But the story that still just, man, absolutely tugs at me and gets me, right? And I shared on the podcast. I like dogs more than I like people, okay? And I'm honest and I'm open with people about that. I had the experience I had with the dog, right? It's one lady, wonderful, wonderful woman. She had a dog that passed away whenever I was in the hospital. And I'm going to weave all this back together. And when that dog passed away, that dog's name was Sadie. Same name as my dog, my current dog. Okay. And I've asked her if I can share all of this before. And her and I have both agreed that if it's going to help somebody, share it. And she told her dog Sadie at that time, she said, "Sadie, it's okay for you to go ahead and go be with Jeremy." And when I'm laying there, I can still vividly see it. A dog standing over the top of me. And a voice saying, "It's okay, Sadie's here." I woke up after a month of being on life support, get out of the hospital, and I read a card that this lady has written me. And she tells me this story about her sending her dog Sadie. And I just broke down in tears, and I could not believe it. Could not believe it. We have an absolute army of people that want to help us and make us the better versions of ourselves so that we can be the people who we're supposed to be. And they absolutely supported her, and they supported me through that.
You guys do that. You do the same for the people that love
Hey, I can't hear you.
I said you guys do the same thing for other people. It's so evident. And that's how I met them, is by their heart for me, a stranger. And that's how I love them so much. And that ties into how we met. But you guys do that for other people. You show the love you've been given, and it's so evident. Y'all are so special.
Absolutely. That, I've recognized you two since I came in the program, and you can just start to tell in sobriety who's got a really strong program and who does that service work, and who, you guys walk the walk, and you helped me a lot in my early sobriety. And I dare say I put you on a pedestal, but I just really, I thought, man, this guy has got something I want. And that's what the program's all about, and yeah, you're just awesome. You're a walking miracle. And that's just, if you don't believe in miracles, come to AA and hang out for a while.
Right?
Yeah. That's all I've got.
So hand the mic to Pat. Give us some thoughts.
I'm good.
Are you?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm good.
All right. I tell you, this is probably a good spot for us to go on break. The second part of the show will be a lot quicker than the first part. And I let it go because it just wasn't an opportunity really to take a good break in there. So, but we're going to go ahead and go on break, and then we'll come back, and then we'll do the second part of the show. Okay? Cool. All right. Welcome back. Team Cheremy. Because it's CH, I want to say Cheremy. So Cheremy. Okay. And of course, Sloan and Pat. I'm sorry, Sam had to leave us, but we are going to capture her story next month, and I'm excited about it. I had a little chat with her during the break. What a lovely woman. What a lovely woman. So I am really looking forward to hearing her show. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit direction on the second part. This is kind of where we get into toolbox and we ask questions leading to that. So what I'm going to do is I found some things that I thought were interesting. I thought I'd go ahead and ask them. And like we had a text from a mutual friend that had a question for the show since she couldn't be here. So I think her question's actually wrapped up in one of these statements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a statement, or it could also be a strategy, and I want your insight on it. Now, some of this was answered during the first show, but now that we're in the toolbox, I want to solidify some of these things for the listening audience. Again, this is the People Show. Those of you out there listening, this is where, you've already kind of heard the past, but now please pay attention to the toolbox. I have my pen ready. All right, so here we go. Individual recovery first. Many professionals recommend that each partner focus on their own personal recovery journey initially. Both individuals must do deep internal work to understand their own addiction and heal old wounds. Now I flip it back to Team Cheremy to give me your insight on that.
So let me get this, get the microphone here. So individual recovery first and the journey to heal old wounds. Is that was the question kind of in a nutshell, right, Bob?
Yes.
Okay. So absolutely. Individual recovery must come first. And I shared a little bit earlier on about, kind of my idea and my concept of still being the same selfish, self-centered person that, I was in that, especially in that early parts of sobriety, right? And my idea of my recovery was still revolved a lot around if I could just change her, right? It's that whole concept of, whenever I was still drinking, right? If I could just get her to stop drinking so much, maybe I would be okay, right? Even though I'm drinking way more than she's drinking. And my behavior far as is way off the chart, right? But we have this weird phenomenon that goes on in our head, and I don't think alcoholics have a I don't think we own that, right? I don't think as an alcoholic we own that. I think what happens is as a regular person or a normie out there, you know, they have other avenues in which they deal with all of these things, right? And as alcoholics, we just keep digging into that trench, right? We keep digging into that trench. And what I had to come to realize is that that individual journey and those old wounds, like Cherie said it earlier, she said, we could throw daggers and darts. We could throw daggers and darts. We have been with each other at this particular point in time for 30 years. You know, at the end of this year, it'll be 31 years that we've been together.
Congrats.
I mean, you think about how much stuff we have been through and how many darts and daggers we could toss at each other over things that have happened in the past. And does that help us grow going forward? The answer to that is absolutely not, right? All that does is cause, just like out in the world today, right? Whenever we can't find common ground and we're throwing darts and daggers at each other, we're just going to continue to divide and shift away from each other, and we're never going to come together as a people, right? And that is the same thing that happens. I have to work on fixing me first before I can ever find a way to be in a relationship with another human being and not instantly be selfish and self-centered. And that's where I think that individual recovery comes in, right? I have to work on me, and I have to work on my 12 steps and my program with my sponsor and my God and my friends and the group of men that I surround myself with, you know, that triangle and that circle. You know, I can't develop a relationship with another human being without that.
Thank you.
That was very good. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have to have your own program. I did not think that coming in. And I know that somebody had said before, you know, you do your own inventory. You don't do their inventory. But you know what? Thinking about it, in early sobriety, I had to get through why I was drinking in the first place. If alcohol is my solution to my problem is not alcohol. Alcohol is my solution. So if I'm going to stop drinking for me and the way my head talks and tells me things, I have to replace that alcohol with something. So I had to learn the tools in the toolbox, you know, little by little. It is gradual and it is very slow sometimes, but I had to stop drinking first. Then I had to get a sponsor and work the steps to learn what even problems do I have. You know, I have things that I have found out just in the past year or so, which is the way I've thought my whole life. I didn't even know that. You know, it doesn't come all at once. It comes in little tidbits here. So you do have to have your own program and get sober first and work the steps first and get the tools first. And then things will come out as they need to. You know, he said we could throw daggers, and you said earlier something about being able to, you know, talk through things now that we're sober and after the fact. Yeah, things come up. And before we couldn't talk about them without getting our feelings hurt or without, you know, now we can talk about them, and because we have the program and because we kind of have the tools, it's like, yeah, this is not personal. This is, you know, what happened. You know, we can take our feelings out of it. We're not as codependent as we were. Then we can't have these normal conversations, and it goes different, but we still have to have our same program. I cannot work his program and he cannot work mine. He cannot keep me sober and I cannot keep him sober. It's the same darn thing. You know, we can't do that for each other. It's got to be something you want. So.
Great answers, guys. And, you know, I've been in this program for a while now, and I have seen couples meet in recovery that go south because you guys are wonderful, and I love your stories. So you knew each other before, whereas I think some of these people come in with couples meet in recovery with expectations that aren't real, because they got to learn always to spin their own plate first. And then there's the unity, or what do we call it, the Venn diagram. You know, you got these two individual circles, but then there's that middle part. that needs to be respected. And I see that you guys respect each other's individual programs as you continue to build your middle program. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to throw this one at you. Maybe, Cherie, you could kick us off with it. Again, some of this is we kind of heard some of this in the first part of the episode. So let's see where this goes. Rebuilding the relationship. A couple in dual recovery will need to fundamentally redefine their relationship and find new, sober ways to connect.
On a daily basis. You just need to add on a daily basis to that. I did totally agree. You know, when you were reading that, it reminds me what my sponsor says to me all the time. We've been together so long, we have a dance. We know the steps. You know, we do the dance. And if one of us wants to change the dance, we step on each other's toes and it hurts. So you have to realize if you're stepping on somebody's toes, how to fix that in recovery, you know? And I always have to remember that because she tells me, blah, 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 blah. She's like, you're doing the dance. You're doing the dance. Well, you stepped on his toe because now you want to change the dance and you hadn't talked to him about it and you stepped on his toe. That's probably how I remember it best.
Wow, I got a picture of that. That was well said, Cherie.
Oh, thank you. It wasn't for me. It got told to me by my sponsor. So
I can't even take credit for it. Rats.
I can't take credit for any of it.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, and that's right. It's great, and I love that analogy. And she shared that with me before because we were talking about. Oh my gosh, Bob, I can't remember what it was we were talking about. Something had changed, and listen, I'll tell you, I'm just going to tell you, and I'll share this in here. Right, is that we changed that dance, right? When we change that dance and we step on each other's toes, man, I'm sensitive. I am a sensitive guy, buddy, and I get my feelings hurt, and I get in my feelings very quickly. And you know what? I'm still that same selfish, self-centered guy, right? I just realize it a lot sooner, right? And I said something earlier about transactional relationships, right? It's about this, what can you do for me? Well, whenever we're dancing and she steps on my toes, all of a sudden it's this fear of something that I have that I'm going to lose or something that I want that I'm not going to get. Okay. And yeah, oh, man, I don't even want to follow what she said, but yeah, it's just, you have to be willing to look at things from that different perspective, you know, look at it from a different perspective. And if I was willing to look at my alcoholism in my life the way that I looked at it, why can't I work on my relationship with those same principles that I learned to fix my alcoholism? Why can't I use those same principles in my life and in my marriage? You know, I call my sponsor all the time with, well, I have done it again. Well, she did it this way and I am pissed off about it. You know, and the answer always comes down to the same thing. It's Jeremy's not going to get something that Jeremy wants, basically, is the response that ends up coming out of it. And that's not to say that I don't get the things that I want, because I get plenty of those things. But, you know, whenever I look at it through this lens, and I am terrible at doing this. We spent the first half of this show talking about her supporting me in my military career, her supporting me while I was sick. And I am so selfish that I can't see past my own nose and support her in that same way. And that's hard to admit.
Wow, I can identify with that, but I'm not going to go there. So my better half will listen to this show and give me the eye, I'm sure. All right, so the next one, establishing boundaries and trust. Lies, manipulation, and codependency are common in relationships with active addiction. Rebuilding trust and establishing healthy boundaries is essential but challenging. I know some of these sound very similar, so if you have something to add to that, please do.
Yeah, early on, and I can't speak to what she thought was going on or what she didn't think was going on, but I will tell you that whenever I was drinking, I would lie when the truth was good enough. Lie when the truth was good enough. I would do things that were backhanded, manipulative. I would, fair to say, a lot of times emotionally and verbally abusive to try to get my way, right? And this is something that I still deal with. And she tells me all the time, you're a bully. And that's true. That's true, right? I am. And so, I would lie because I don't want to not get my way, right? And therefore, whenever we start getting sober, I want to become this trustworthy, honest version of myself. Well, when I'm first sober, like I'm going to meetings, I'm going out of the house, I'm gone a lot, I'm doing all of these things. And I remember early on, one time she got upset because I had been going and doing. And I don't know the reasonings why she got so upset, right? The fact is she got upset. I can only speculate on my mind, and I'm thinking, why? Do you not trust me? Do you not, what do you think I'm out doing, right? I'm working on my recovery, and I'm all these things. Well, whenever I look at it from the lens where I'm sitting now is, well, and like I said, I don't know whether she did or didn't think this. This is just what's going on in Jeremy's head at that particular point in time. And she had no reason to trust me, right? I had spent the better part of my life doing whatever I wanted to do. I can sit here and tell you countless fights and arguments that we got into because of, things that would slip out of my mouth. And she would be like, well, I didn't know that, And so, how do you become, I love, somebody shared this not long ago, and I can't give credit to the person that shared it because I don't remember exactly who shared it. Actually, I do remember who shared it now, actually. How do you become an esteemable person? How do you become a trustworthy person? And it's by doing esteemable acts, right? And so I have to change my behaviors to become the trustworthy version of me. Like now, today, I trust her complicitly in what's, I would never imagine trying to grab her phone and go through it behind her back, right? But those are all things that I did before, right? Because I don't have trust, right? And I would venture to say that those same things happened on the other side, right? I can't speak for her, but, we are not inherently trustworthy people when we're drinking, but we have to build that, and we build that on a daily basis by doing esteemable things and doing the next right thing.
Very well said.
Very good said. I'm going to add that you said something about boundaries to that. I think learning to set healthy boundaries with not just my husband, but with my kids also, that for me was probably as hard and as scary as getting sober for me. I did not have boundaries. So honestly, I did not even know what the word meant. And so I was in IOP after we went through detox. And the one thing my counselor said was, you really need to learn how to set boundaries. And then my sponsor, once I got a sponsor, she said something about boundaries. I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What is a boundary? Like, I don't even get what you're saying, and this was all based on nothing that he had done, but me as a person, how I developed as a kid and thought what was right, what was wrong, how it was going to go. I didn't know how to set a boundary. It was so hard. I remember we almost got a divorce over kitty cats. Like we got into the biggest fight in early sobriety. And I'll never forget my sponsor at the time. I called her and I said, he is so mean. He's like, la, 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 these poor little kitty cats. And she finally just said one day, she's like, look, you're going to have to decide. Do you want to be with him or not? If he never changes the way he is right now, do you want to be with him? If the answer is yes, figure it out. If the answer is no, go about your business. Figure out how to, oh, look, it's a kitty cat. It's very hard. It's still very hard for me to make boundaries because it's much easier for me to attack you and I can make you feel about half an inch tall with what I'm going to say to you. I can cut you down that fast. It's easy. That's the easier, softer way. The harder way is to sit and listen to somebody's point of view and say, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I was wrong. We had and we talk about fights and stuff. I would say, I don't know, I'm not putting a percentage on it, but our marriage on a day-to-day basis is a pretty good marriage. Yes, we have fights, and yes, but I don't want to think like we go home and it's like, we actually like each other, and we, travel together, and that's weird. But anyways, so maybe it was last week, a couple weeks ago. I don't know. He got his feelings hurt. I got my feelings hurt over something that was said, right? I said one thing, you said. So we sat down like human beings and said, you said this. This is what I took from it. And he said, well, you said this. This is what I took from it. Neither one of the things that were in our head was what the other meant at all. At all. That's just something that's common with alcoholics, I think. So you have to learn to set boundaries, and then you have to learn to when a boundary is crossed, I can set a boundary all day long, but once it's crossed, know what to do. Gosh, that's a good feeling. It gives you so much freedom, but as a woman, it is so hard to do sometimes. The way I was raised was it's just really hard to do. It really, really is.
Wow, very good answer. You just took me down memory lane. Having been from New York, we had this saying. You know what a New York cop is?
Yeah,
a New York cop, right? Yeah. Bang bang, stop or I'll shoot. Right. So what I mean by that is, if my significant other says something to me without getting clarification, I'm making an assumption and the guns are blazing. And now we've got a full-on fight, and we're fighting about something that doesn't even exist. And so in recovery, I've been through therapy, right? And I don't make any bones about it, for outside issues and what have you. But we've gone to couple therapy, and they have this thing called effective fighting. I'm like, effective fighting is when I win. That's not effective fighting. It's fair fighting. It's like, well, what does that mean? Well, it means if somebody says something you disagree with, why not ask, what do you mean by that? And getting clarification before making an assumption. And then if you still don't like the answer after you've gotten it, pause, like we learn in recovery, right? Pause. Pause doesn't mean just like for a few seconds. It might mean for a day. It might mean taking a walk away going, she just called me a selfish SOB. I'm sensitive, fist her up. Mm-hmm. Instead of, attacking, maybe I need to come back to the table and say, what have I done? And why am I going to do that? Because I want to stay in this marriage. Okay. I love that. Boundaries. I'm so glad you said that. You said you didn't know what boundaries were. I think we just assume it because we're in recovery, but maybe there's somebody out there listening going the same thing you are doing right now. I didn't know what boundaries were. I'm not looking for an example, but maybe a definition of what a boundary means to y'all.
What does a boundary mean to me? I think probably examples are just the way I do it best. So one of the first times I set a boundary was with my daughter and Jeremy, because I'm the middle person. So, he gripes about her to me. She gripes about him to me. And I'm the person in the middle she was buying a car. And he was griping about this, and she was griping about this, and I was in the middle. I was like, I cannot take this. And my sponsor said, just tell them both. Yeah, I'm not getting a part of it. I'm not getting involved. Y'all work it out together. And I was like, I can do that? Like, she's like, yeah, you can do that. I was like, okay, I'm going to try it out. And I did. And his face, bless his heart. I was like, I'm
She used that line, bless your heart.
I was heartbroken, Bob.
His face just drained when he was just like, Whoa, what? I have to talk to her? Yes, y'all have to communicate together. I'm stepping out of it because it's not healthy for me. Like, y'all are driving me nuts. I just want to help everybody. So for me, that was a healthy boundary. So maybe pulling back and stepping away and saying, I'm not going to be your middleman. You figure it out. You talk to each other. That's what my boundaries look like a lot of times.
Yeah. And I think whenever I think about what a boundary is, I think it's exactly how she described it. But if I was just going to put other words to it that are generic, it is essentially like this doorway, right? There is a doorway that I am willing to walk up to with anyone and anybody doing a lot of things, right? And that situation may be different depending on the person, right? Or the situation. If in some cases I think that it's going to be beneficial for our relationship to walk through that doorway, then I am willing to go through that for the betterment of the good, right? But there are often times when I know that if we go through that doorway, and I shared with you earlier, I'm a very toxic person, as in I can cut you out of my life. If we go through that doorway, we may not come back. And that's kind of the way that I look at the boundary aspect of that. And, I think that boundaries can be good and boundaries can be bad. You can set lines in the sand and you can cross those lines unintentionally and destroy relationships. And you can also sometimes set lines in the sand and not cross those lines and destroy relationships. So whenever I think about a boundary, just make sure that whatever boundary you're setting, that the best way to put it is, my son, me and I were having a conversation not long ago, and does the punishment fit the crime?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So very well said. You just reminded me of a digression here. My son. Hold on a second. Let me just say this and I'll hit. So I punished my son for something. And I think I've said this on the show before. And then later on, he came back and he goes, you don't give second chances. Well, we've got boundaries, right? And I said, did you know you made that mistake when you did that dastardly deed? Did you know it was wrong? He goes, yeah. I go, why should I give you a second chance? I mean, we got to set rules here, right? We've got rules. We already knew them. So it really helped because he didn't continue to do that.
So for me, I'll tell you, it makes me incredibly uncomfortable. And I think that it probably has deflated my ego more. This is just my opinion, right? Yeah, and Cherie can have, she can share however she feels. And I mean, she's welcome to share anything that she feels. I get so self-conscious about how other people are going to receive me that I absolutely crawl inside my skin when I'm asked to do those things. And when I walk away from doing those things, there was a oh my gosh, man, I'm going to go blank on his name. Tom Brady Jr. He's dead. He was in Alcoholics Anonymous, gave all kinds of talks, and he talked on this one time, and I can absolutely relate to what he shared. And he said it took him a long time to get past this. I go somewhere and I share my experience, strength, and hope, and you clap and you talk and you say all those things you say when you're done. 5 minutes, whenever I walk out that door, I am the worst piece of crap on the planet Earth. And I screwed it up. I messed it up. I said the wrong things. I should have said something different. And what I'm coming to realize is that is my ego. Because if I prayed to God before I started to put the words in my mouth and share what needs to be shared, then who am I to say that what I said was not?
You're a circuit speaker. Married to a circuit speaker, y'all. I'm sorry, I had to.
Did you say circuit or circus?
Oh, that's good.
I think it's the circus.
Probably the circus. I think he gets so darn. Y'all don't see the back door before he walks out, or behind the scenes. I guess it'd be behind the scenes, and he is so nervous and so unsure of himself. But you don't see that. You don't see that part of it. I see that part of it. So his ego is bigger in my house than it is than it is speaking, because I know how uncomfortable it makes him. That it probably, I would tell him he's got a bigger ego about doing the laundry than he does speaking. Whether he speaks a lot or doesn't speak a lot. I mean, dude died, so kind of, you want to hear that story. It's an amazing story about recovery and what can happen in recovery. But yeah, I don't know. No. He doesn't give me any. He just gets so nervous. It drives me nuts. I feel bad for him, because I know how nervous it makes him. So yeah, there's no ego. I don't. Yeah. You see one side, I see the real side, and know how truly uncomfortable it makes him. So I wouldn't think it is. Yeah. Now, I will say, though, I am getting to travel more now. Hello.
How's your ego doing?
Right? It's doing great. I'm getting to see things. I'm not a people part, like big crowd people anyways. So if one of the two of us has to do it, it better be him. I'm good with that.
She even got to visit a Goodwill in Akron, Ohio.
I might have spent more money at Goodwill than any other place. Just saying.
That great answers, guys. Great question. Jeremy and I have talked about that a couple of times. So it was funny that you asked that, because one of the things that we have in common in this is the audience going to see that I'm a phony? Are they going to see that I'm not real? And then the prayer time, right? When you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything without praying. And then I worry that, well, God, is that really what you want me to say?
Yes. Oh my God, that is me every time. Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys brought that up.
Yeah.
You got to talk in the mic, Paul. We can't hear you.
That's ego too, right there, is when we're questioning God like we know better than God. When we pray and then we're like, we want to pray for a certain result.
Yeah.
Did I do it correct? So that's ego also. I have to be very careful of that, because like when I speak, I just say a prayer and I go up there and let it skip. And then, I try not to do it, but beforehand, I think I try to shut it down, but I'm constantly thinking about what I'm going to say. And then when I'm there,
got to talk in the mic. Sorry.
What I do say.
Why don't you just hold it for her?
Well, she was doing a great job. And, and then there's what God has me say, and I question that myself, and that's just me. Sometimes I try, I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I have this God complex. It used to be real bad when I was drinking, but it's gotten a lot better. But and that's what part of that's my ego, is when I'm questioning God. If I'm praying to God and I'm questioning, that's me. That's not God.
Yeah, and that's what, I think that is a fantastic point. And one of the things that I was told, especially early on, was anytime that I'm asked to speak or share my story or go do something that makes me uncomfortable is an opportunity to lean into my higher power. You always hear this concept of God's not going to give us more than what we can handle. We can debate whether that's true, whether it's not. My personal opinion on that is God sometimes is going to give us more than what we can handle to get us reconnected with him, right? Because if everything that in my life is thrown at me, I can handle, then why do I need God?
Well said. Well said. Okay. Pat, anything? Sloan?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay. Paul? All right, so I'm going to move into another segment here. I'm going to try this out. I don't know how this is going to work. I haven't talked to this. I didn't run this by my fact checker. All right, and what I have here, audience, are pieces of paper with stuff written on the other side. Team Cheremy has no idea where this is going. Nobody in the audience knows. So I'm going to tell you straight up. These are cheesy pickup lines. So you don't know which one you're going to grab.
I like it. I'm
just going to lay it on the table. You can look at it, of course, and read it. But you have to, this ought to be fun. We'll see where this goes. You pick it up. So, Jeremy, if you pick up one, you got to look at it, and you got to use it on Cherie, and then vice versa.
All right. I like it.
We're going to see how this goes. All right. Cherie's going first. Let's see. She's tough.
So I just tell it to her.
Just like you've never met him before.
All right.
We're going to see how this goes. Cheesy pickup line.
Hey, baby, hope I'm on your list of things to pick up today. I don't think I'll. Okay, it's your turn.
Do I get to respond to that?
Yeah,
let's
go over that. Let's see.
Oh, baby, I hope so. I got a house ready for you to pick up.
Oh, my God.
That was good.
Come back.
That was good.
Oh, my gosh. All right, Jeremy, you're next.
I'm pretty quick-witted on my feet. So.
Yeah, that was good.
Hey, girl, are you tired? Here, let me get you a seat. You've got to be tired, and I bet them feet hurt from you running through my mind all day long. Besides, it has to have hurt when you fell from heaven.
You may be the king of cheesy pickup lines.
That
Do we
was
keep
sweet.
going?
Yeah, why not? I'm enjoying it.
Oh, this is a good one. Hey, how do you feel about raisins?
Like 'em.
How do you feel about a date?
Oh, I like that.
That's not.
I made them up.
I like it.
I love them.
Oh, I got more.
Oh, speaking to the microphone, which one did you text to him? Oh,
The raisin date.
The feet running through my mind.
oh.
I've
That's how she
got
got you.
You can find these online. So some of them you'll notice are definitely cheesy if they came from Bob. You can tell the cheesier ones.
Hey, babe, you can call me Jay, but you can call me anytime you want. That one was a hard one to try to spin.
Okay. One more.
All right, one more for you. Here, I'll give you.
Yeah, you get it for me. Give me a good one.
This is hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Hey, do you got a sunburn? You're so hot. I just used my southern twang.
Southern twang. That is not where I was going to go with that one until I finished reading it.
Clean pickup line.
Well, hey, who says they got to be clean? Well, other than the audience listening out there. Oh, see, this one's so hard because this is one of those that you need your hands to be able to do this. Because you could so pick up a woman with this one. Like, you could literally melt a woman with
All
this
right,
one.
Paul's holding the mic. Let's see where this goes.
Oh, hey, excuse me. Do you have something in your eye? Or is that just a sparkle?
Oh, that's cute. Wish we could. That's folks. I hope you have a visual. Jeremy put his hands on the side of Sherry's face and just caressed her. That was beautiful. All right. I don't do mushy movies, but that was beautiful. All right, guys. So we're moving into wrap up, and now this is open mic to Team Cheremy right now. This is when, hey, there's people out there listening to the show, and they might be fledgling couples. They might be whatever, but whatever comes to your heart and your mind right now, what would you say to couples out there that are in their recovery journey? And the mic is yours.
So I want to let Cherie have the last word whenever it comes to us. And, I think that would be the first thing that I would share with another man, especially in that journey of recovery with their wife, right? You don't always have to have the last word. It's okay to let her stand in front of you. My marriage is not perfect. You can hear the, and nor is anybody else's. Nobody's relationship is perfect. From the outside, we can all put on a facade and make it look like things are great inside our home. But what happens behind those doors is what makes or breaks a relationship. Treat each other with dignity and respect. Something that we talked about the other day is relationships are not transactional. It's not about what you do for me and what I do for you. It's about how we interact with each other. Relationships have to be based on love and the fundamental idea that this is my person and this is the person that I want to be with. What am I willing to do for that person, not what is that person willing to do? And it took me a long time to learn that. And I still fall short of that mark, right? We have a tendency to look at people and we put these people on these pedestals and say that they have this great relationship and that's what I want. Well, what's going on behind those doors? Go back and listen to what we talked about earlier. Date your spouse, date your partner. A friend of mine told me this, and it's something that I struggle with, right? Because I'm very private, but I do it now every single day. One of the things that started changing my entire outlook on my wife and my relationship was him and his wife pray openly for each other every morning. I am so creepy crawly, whatever you want to call it, self-conscious about myself. I can't do it openly. But the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I put my hands on her and I pray for her every single day. And it changes the way I look at her every single day.
That was awesome. And I love that. Thank you. Great tip. I'm gonna have to meditate on that for myself. Thank you.
Can we just end with that? I don't want to follow that up. What advice would you give to a couple in recovery? Oh, from what we've been through. Definitely work your own program. That would be first. Don't work his program. Don't work her program. You are a member of Alcoholics Anonymous for a reason, and that is you. That is not your spouse. Definitely there has to be a different divide because, like I said, we're two different people. Our programs look totally different, and respect the other's program. Respect the other person if they don't show up the way you show up. What may be good for him for his recovery may not be good for me in my recovery. What's great for me in my recovery, he may not understand it at all. But it doesn't matter that he's got his program, I've got my program. That would be the number one first. Just don't make each other, don't. The other thing is, and you said perfect, people that are perfect. Well, that just doesn't exist ever. We're humans. We're flawed by nature. So if you think you're going to have a perfect relationship with your spouse, well, you're fooled from the get-go. Realize that this is a partnership. Realize that you are just two humans, and just ask yourself, I do it all the time. Do you love this person where you stand right now? Do you love this person? Do you want to stay with this person as they are right now? If you truly love them, marriage isn't you just make me happy. It's work through things. If you truly love them, you're going to say, I want to be married to you. I may not like you right now. You probably don't like me right now, but that's okay. This is not a temporary thing. We're going to work through it. So be willing to change, be willing to mold to whatever the marriage looks like, because it looks different every phase. We go through seasons in our life. So how can we expect to be the exact same people through every season? You can't. You're not the same person. So don't expect your partner to be the same person either. And so when you go through the seasons, just go through them together, and be a partnership, not a, nothing more than a partnership, I think love covers a multitude of sins, and I think just love each other. Just love each other. It may not look pretty sometimes. You might do it wrong sometimes, but he's worth it. I love him. I'm absolutely more in love with him today than I was probably when we first got married. And it's not, and it's only because of what we've been through and the things I've learned about him and the way I've seen him change as a man and the way he's helped me change as a woman. You become two becomes one in what we do, and we do that a lot, but it's just growing together. It's growing together and just love each other through it. So I think that's about all. Talk to your sponsor all the time. And early sobriety. Yeah, that's all.
Wow. That was really great stuff, not just in recovery, but I think just what y'all just said, it really is applicable across the board, whether people are recovering from illicits, alcohol, or whatever. Just if right where you stand right now, you love your partner, then do what you got to do, to make that relationship strong. If the tire on your car is getting a little flat, it's losing some air, don't wait till it goes flat. Get that sucker pumped up. Do what you got to do. So I love what y'all's responses were right now. Thanks. And you know what I specifically love is, I've obviously know a lot of couples in recovery, but I know very few couples that knew each other in their youth and grew through alcoholism and then recovery. And then the example that you all set now for couples. When we opened the show, I was looking, I told you, I'd read some statistics in the beginning. I couldn't find any that y'all fell into. You're very rare. There's lots of couples in recovery, but to go with y'all went through, I think you guys are just a great example to other couples, whether they're recovering or not. Instead of if somebody is not an alcoholic, well, find a therapist or find a mentor, a woman, if you're a woman, that has survived a great marriage. Well, what did you do? Learn those things. Thank you so much, guys. You brought a lot to this show. So, and anything else?
Thank you for having us.
Oh my gosh.
It was our honor.
Absolutely. It has absolutely been a pleasure. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Oh man, you guys, really, you bless me. I'm hoping that Shannon takes some of your advice to help our marriage. She's not here to defend herself. She got Danny out of here before he wrecked the equipment. There was a lot of good stuff there, and I'm telling you, I appreciate it. I actually made some mental notes and some pencil notes earlier. Okay, so all right, listening audience out there, what say you on today's show? Leave your thoughts and comments on shoutoutfromthepit.com. And this is it. Thanks for listening in, and please share our show with folks that could use some encouragement and extra tools for their recovery journey. And the buck bucket is up. Hit the donation link on shoutoutfromthepit.com and help us update our crappy equipment and grow the show. Be sure to subscribe at shoutoutfromthepit.com for future episodes. As Rolf would say, it's for free and for fun. Remember, you are not alone. And if no one's told you they love you today, we love you. God bless you guys. So I'm Bob the Old Rucker, praying you're having an outstanding American day. And with that, God bless you and peace out.